How did Dad manage to tattoo bulletproof skin? Could Aquaman's youth have something to do with his tattoos? And seriously, can human weapons even pierce Aquaman's skin? Answers to these and other intriguing questions are in this video. Besides Aquaman's usual superhero adventures, the movie also showed us a couple of his hobbies. First, Aquaman loves his dad and enjoys drinking beer with him. Second, Aquaman is obsessed with collecting an impressive amount of Polynesian tattoos on his 110-kilogram body. Throughout the story, the movie only briefly touched on how he got these tattoos. When leaving the bar, his dad complains that they never finished his tattoo, which would have greatly disappointed their grandfather. This makes it clear that it's Aquaman's dad who plays the role of his tattoo artist. And honestly, it's not that surprising, considering he's also shown on-screen sporting similar Hawaiian-style patterns. That's all fine, except for one thing. The actual process of getting a tattoo, where ink is inserted under the skin by damaging it, doesn't quite line up with what we saw at the beginning of the movie. And here's what we saw. Aquaman's skin can't be damaged by a professional assassin's blade, a gunshot at close range, or even a powerful explosive. And all of this somehow doesn't align with the classic painful method of getting a tattoo. After doing some research on the internet, I came across several discussions about this question. Now, I'm going to share a few theories about how Aquaman got his tattoos, based on both fan theories and my own assumptions. Let's start with one of the first fan theories I came across. It suggests that most of Aquaman's tattoos were acquired during his youth. There's a scene in the movie where a young Aquaman is training under the guidance of his mentor from Atlantis, Vulko, and we can see a Hawaiian-style pattern already present on one of his forearms. This theory is based on the assumption that the skin of young Aquaman is significantly less durable than that of his adult self. This might have allowed him to get the majority of his tattoos while growing up. In the context of the movie, this theory could be quite plausible, even considering the fact that Aquaman's size nearly doubled from his youth to adulthood. You can find plenty of photos online with real-life examples showing that high-quality tattoos generally don't suffer much even after significant weight gain or loss. And I think there's no reason to question the quality of tattoos made by his dad. However, the moment where his dad complains to an adult Aquaman about his unfinished tattoos and says they need to be completed suggests that Aquaman continues to get new tattoos as an adult. Thus, the question of how tattoos are applied to the unbreakable skin of an adult Aquaman remains unanswered. The second theory goes as follows. Aquaman isn't entirely bulletproof. In one of his interviews, the film's director James Wan mentioned, Aquaman is not the Man of Steel. Human weapons can harm Aquaman, and his body's ability to withstand immense pressure and damage is primarily due to the super strong structure of his muscles, specifically his muscles, not his skin. There's a scene in the movie where Black Manta wounds Aquaman with a blade made of Atlantean steel near his shoulder joint. Later in the fight, he delivers another blow, presumably to the same spot, but this time with a knife passed down to him from his father, who got it from his grandfather. This moment has sparked discussions on forums. Some people believe the second strike hit the same wound made by the Atlantean blade, which is why the knife, made from human steel, was able to pierce Aquaman. Others argue it's a new, separate wound, which proves that human weapons, if used correctly, can cause serious damage to Aquaman, and some think the knife itself was made of Atlantean steel, capable of piercing Aquaman anywhere. But the answer to this question is provided by the movie itself, specifically the scene on the boat where a healed Aquaman removes some magic seaweed that's supposed to cure everything from wounds to other injuries. Near his shoulder joint, you can only see one scar. This tells us that the second knife strike hit the same wound caused by the Atlantean blade. Thus, the film doesn't show us any examples of human weapons successfully piercing Aquaman's skin. Alright, let's assume that human weapons, when used correctly, can cause significant damage to Aquaman's skin. But how does this fit with the meticulous, deliberate, and labor-intensive process of tattooing? I mean, if human weapons can pierce Aquaman's skin, using weapons to tattoo him is definitely out of the question. Tattooing is a delicate process that requires specific tools to perform. And according to this same theory, people on forums suggest that, for example, if there were an ultra-thin needle made of ultra-strong steel, it might be able to penetrate Aquaman's skin because it's ultra-thin and so on. But I'm evaluating the feasibility of the theory within the context of the movie. And from the film, we know that Aquaman's dad, who also serves as his tattoo artist, is a lighthouse keeper. And since he's a lighthouse keeper, he most likely doesn't have a mini factory for producing ultra-thin needles made of ultra-strong steel, and he probably couldn't order them from Amazon either. Thus, we've arrived at the most logical and believable, in my opinion, explanation for how Aquaman got his tattoos, tools, straight from Atlantis. Atlantis is a highly advanced underwater civilization, and it's highly likely that the Atlanteans have some kind of ready-made equivalent of a tattoo machine. Honestly, why not? Yes, Aquaman hadn't been to Atlantis before the events of the movie, but throughout his entire life, from early childhood, he maintained a connection with his mentor, Vulko, who, as we understand, regularly visited Aquaman throughout his life. On top of that, Vulko has the status of a monarch. After all, he's the king's advisor. And monarchs don't go through customs checks at the borders of Atlantis. Therefore, Vulko could have smuggled all kinds of cool stuff to the surface, including the aforementioned equivalent of a tattoo machine. But even if the Atlanteans aren't big fans of tattoos and never invented anything like that, Aquaman and his dad could have easily built their own tattoo machine using needles made of Atlantean steel kindly provided by Vulko. These needles are most likely used by Atlanteans, for example, in medicine. I mean, they've got to be using them for something. If they really wanted to, they could have managed without a tattoo machine. The history of tattooing goes back more than 5,000 years, while the first tattoo machine appeared only 130 years ago. Sharp needles, pointed bones, and animal teeth were all used to create tattoos. And in Atlantis and its surroundings, the local marine wildlife certainly doesn't have any problems with teeth. Of course, using such methods would have made the tattooing process longer, but still, it would work. What do you think about how Aquaman got his tattoos? I'm curious to hear your opinion. Drop a comment below. Of course, the large number of tattoos on Aquaman's body is, first and foremost, an addition to his tough, brutal on-screen image. After all, the goal of the DC cinematic universe was to create a new, cool, and successful version of Aquaman to contrast with the old, less popular one that was mostly associated with jokes about talking to fish. And, well, they did a good job. If you liked this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment. See you next time.